At the start of the movie, The Martian, a storm hits the crew on Mars. Mark Watney gets struck by debris and left for dead. And the rest of the film is about one brilliant man using science to survive alone on a hostile world. And grows potatoes. He does the math.
In the face of overwhelming odds, I'm left with only one option.
He sciences the heck out of it, as he says. And we cheer, because it's a story about the body and mind being tough enough to beat Mars. But by the time Watney was stranded, his body had already spent months getting to Mars. And months in space don't make a body tougher. They make it weaker, in a very specific and dangerous way. The real Mark Watney would have been fighting Mars in a body that had been quietly falling apart the entire trip there. And to understand why, you have to go back to 1962 to a doctor who made a discovery by ordering his patients to do absolutely nothing. He was studying prolonged bed rest. Healthy young men kept lying flat for weeks. And what he found alarmed him. Their hearts got weaker, their bones thinned, their muscles wasted. Lying still, doing no harm, these men were deteriorating as if they were aging years in a matter of weeks. A few years later, when the first astronauts came back from orbit, flight surgeons saw the same pattern, except the astronauts hadn't been lying in bed. They'd been floating in space. It turned out that to your body, weightlessness and lying motionless are almost the same thing. And that quiet discovery is the single biggest reason that, despite all the rockets and all the ambition, our bodies are not ready for Mars. The heart is at the center of everything I do. I spend my working life managing it, its rhythm, its pressure, how it responds when the body is pushed to an extreme. So when people talk about sending humans on a years-long trip to Mars, the first thing I think about isn't the rocket. It's the heart, slowly forgetting how to do its job in an environment it was never built for. The hardest part of reaching Mars may not be the journey at all. It may be arriving in a body that spent the whole trip quietly weakening. The problem comes down to one sentence. Your body is brilliant at adapting, and on the way to Mars, that brilliance turns against you. On Earth, your heart works against gravity all day, pumping blood up from your legs to your head. Your bones bear your weight. Your muscles hold you upright. Every one of these systems is strong because gravity is constantly demanding that it be strong. Take gravity away, and your body does the logical thing. It stops maintaining strength it no longer seems to need. Bones shed calcium, muscles shrink, and the heart, the most important muscle of all, starts to weaken and even change shape because it no longer has to fight gravity to move blood around. A trip to Mars takes roughly 6 to 9 months each way. That's the better part of a year for these systems to quietly downgrade themselves, followed by an arrival on a planet where the crew has to stand up, work, and survive in bodies that have spent months unlearning how. Let's go deeper on that 1960s bed rest clue because it's the key to the whole thing. When researchers studied long-term bed rest, they were essentially removing the demand of gravity without leaving Earth. And the body responded by deconditioning. The heart, pumping against less resistance, grew weaker and, strikingly, began to lose its normal shape. Decades later, when scientists used ultrasound to study astronauts' hearts, they confirmed it directly. In space, the heart actually becomes more spherical, more like a ball, than the efficient pointed pump it's supposed to be. One long-duration astronaut's heart became measurably rounder over months in orbit. A rounder heart is a less efficient heart. The elegant shape that lets it pump powerfully starts to soften when there's no gravity to pump against. And this connects to a danger that doesn't show up until you arrive. When astronauts return to gravity after long missions, many can't stand up without nearly fainting. Their weakened cardiovascular system can't push enough blood to the brain against the sudden pull of weight. We have ways to manage that on Earth, where a medical team is waiting at the landing site. But there will be no medical team waiting on Mars. The crew will have to stand up on a planet with gravity in hearts that have been getting rounder and weaker for half a year alone. We obsess over the dramatic Mars dangers, radiation, rocket explosions, the cold. Those are real. But the quiet, near-certain threat is the slow deconditioning of the body during the journey itself. By the time a crew reaches Mars, after months of weightlessness, their hearts are weaker and rounder, their bones thinner, their muscles smaller. And then we ask them to do the hardest physical thing of the whole mission, land on a new world and immediately function. Set up habitats, handle emergencies, survive. With no hospital, no specialists, and a radio signal to Earth that takes up to 20 minutes each way, so real-time medical help is impossible. If a crew member's heart can't handle the transition to Martian gravity, the nearest cardiologist is 40 million miles away and 40 minutes behind. The rockets are nearly ready, the bodies are the bottleneck, and unlike an engine, you can't just build a stronger one, you have to keep a fragile, adapting, deconditioning human alive across a gulf where rescue simply doesn't exist. The decline runs in 5 beats. 1. Gravity disappears, so the heart no longer has to pump blood uphill against it. The demand on the heart drops. 2. Following the body's basic rule, the heart adapts to the lower demand by weakening and becoming more spherical and less efficient, the same pattern we saw in bed rest patients. 3. At the same time, bones lose calcium and muscles atrophy, so the whole body is deconditioning in parallel over the months-long trip. 4. The crew arrives at Mars and re-enters gravity. The weakened cardiovascular system struggles to push blood to the brain against weight, risking dizziness and fainting at the worst possible moment. 5. There's no rescue. The communication delay makes real-time help from Earth impossible, and there's no hospital on Mars. The crew has to manage their own deconditioned bodies, alone, while doing the most demanding work of the mission. Countermeasures exist: hours of daily exercise, resistance devices, careful protocols. They help, but they don't fully stop the decline, and they cost precious time and energy every single day of the trip. I mean this as admiration, not doubt. The dream of Mars is one of the most ambitious things our species has ever attempted, and I want it to succeed. But the lesson of space medicine is humbling. The human body is not a passenger that simply rides along inside the spacecraft. It is itself a finely tuned machine, calibrated to one specific planet, and it begins to recalibrate the moment you take that planet away. The engineering challenge of getting to Mars may turn out to be easier than the biological challenge of arriving in a body that still works. For the future doctors and researchers listening, this is where some of the most important medicine of the next century will be done. Not curing exotic new diseases, but understanding deeply how the body adapts and learning to keep it strong in a place it was never designed for. The first humans to walk on Mars won't get there because we built a better rocket. They'll get there because someone, somewhere, finally figured out how to keep a heart from forgetting how to be a heart. See you in the next case. Like and follow for more.